The call came just after midnight, when the world outside felt hollow and too quiet. And when Claire Hayes saw the name on her phone, she froze. It was Michael Carter, her best friend's husband. Claire sat up in bed, heart pushing hard against her ribs. Michael never called her. Not at this hour. Not ever. The screen glowed in the dark room like a warning. She answered. His voice came low, strained, almost swallowed by the static of the late hour. Claire, I need to tell you something. But you have to promise me you won't ignore it. Claire pressed her palm to her chest, trying to pull air into her lungs. The room felt colder. Michael, what's going on? Is Emma okay? There was a pause. A silence too heavy to be accidental. She heard him exhale slowly, as if afraid of the words he was about to release. Emma is fine, he finally said, for now. But I need you to listen. Claire swung her legs off the bed. Her bare feet touched the wooden floor, grounding her. She turned on the small lamp beside her bed, watching the soft light push back the darkness. She knew Michael as the steady one. The calm one. The person who always made Emma feel safe. Hearing fear in his voice felt wrong, like hearing a storm inside a locked room. What happened? She asked. Michael hesitated. It's about something I found tonight. Something I wasn't supposed to see. Claire guided her breath. Slow. Even. Michael, you're scaring me. I know, he whispered. That's why I'm calling. Because if something happens, you'll be the one person Emma trusts without question. The words hit Claire with quiet force. A strange mix of fear, loyalty, and protective instinct rose in her. I need you to be clear, she said. What am I supposed to be ready for? Another long exhale. And then he spoke with a softness that carried warning more than comfort. Someone has been watching us. Claire's grip tightened around her phone. The lamp light flickered slightly, though she knew it was just her imagination. What do you mean watching? Like, online? No, he said. This is different. I found something near our front porch. Something deliberate. Claire's mind raced. Was this a prank? A misunderstanding? Michael wasn't the type to jump at shadows. What did you find? She asked. He hesitated again. Not over the phone. I shouldn't risk it. I need to see you, Claire. And soon. Claire ran a hand through her hair, trying to slow her thoughts. It's past midnight, Michael. I know what time it is, he replied, still gentle, but firmer now. I wouldn't call if it wasn't important. She glanced toward her bedroom window. The streetlights created faint halos on the pavement outside. A dog barked somewhere a few houses down. Everything looked normal. Perfectly normal. Yet her stomach twisted. Emma doesn't know, does she? Claire asked. No. And I don't want to scare her until I understand what's going on. He paused, voice tightening. But you know her. If she finds out I'm hiding something, she'll worry herself sick. Claire swallowed. Emma always felt too deeply, trusted too quickly, and loved too fiercely. That was why Claire adored her. And why Claire feared for her. Where is she now? Claire asked. Asleep. She has no idea I'm calling you. Claire rubbed her forehead. She could still hear the soft hiss of the line between their breaths, like the world holding still. Michael, she said quietly, you need to tell me what's going on. I can't help if I don't understand. He let out a slow breath. I will. First thing in the morning. Can you meet me? Somewhere quiet. Somewhere you feel safe. Claire closed her eyes. Her mind replayed the way he said the word watching. Not casual. Not paranoid. Certain. Yes, she said. I'll meet you. Good, he replied gently. Don't tell anyone I called. Not yet. Claire opened her eyes again, staring at the lamp's glow, wondering how a regular night had turned into this. I won't, she promised. There was another small silence. A softer one. Almost emotional. Thank you, Claire, he said. You're the only person I trust with this. She felt those words more deeply than she expected. Michael had always been polite, kind, steady. But this was something else. A moment that felt fragile and important. Get some sleep if you can, he added. We'll talk in the morning. And then the call ended. Claire lowered the phone to her lap, her heart still knocking unevenly in her chest. The room returned to its ordinary quiet, but the air felt different now, heavier with something unspoken. She sat there for a long time, trying to make sense of it. Trying to imagine what could shake Michael enough to call her in the dead of night. Outside, a car passed slowly down the street, headlights sweeping across her curtains like a silent warning. She whispered to herself, "What did you find, Michael?" The night didn't answer. But Claire felt something shift. Something subtle. Something that told her tomorrow would not be normal. And when morning came, nothing would be the same. Claire barely slept. Every time she drifted close to rest, Michael's voice echoed back to her. "Someone has been watching us." By the time the soft grey of morning seeped through her curtains, she was already dressed, pacing her living room. She kept checking the clock, though she didn't even know what time Michael planned to meet. Her phone buzzed at 7:32 a.m. A text from him. "Can we meet at the old trail behind Lakewood Park at 8? It's quiet there." Claire stared at the message. They had all walked that trail together many times over the years. Birthdays, lazy spring afternoons, the kind of casual memories friends collect without thinking. She never imagined it becoming a place for secrets. She typed back, "I'll be there." The morning air felt crisp as she stepped outside. She locked her door, pulled her jacket tighter, and headed toward her car. The neighborhood looked the same as always, the same trimmed lawns, the same slow-moving cars, the same neighbor walking his golden retriever. But after last night, normal didn't feel normal anymore. The drive to Lakewood Park took 15 quiet minutes. Claire kept checking her rearview mirror without knowing why. No one followed her. Nothing seemed strange. Still, a jittery feeling crawled just beneath her skin. She parked near the empty trail entrance. The trees rustled with a soft morning breeze. Dew sparkled faintly on the grass. It should have been peaceful. But Claire felt tension coil inside her as she spotted Michael's dark SUV at the far edge of the lot. He stepped out as soon as he saw her. He looked tired, eyes shadowed, shoulders stiff, jaw set a little too hard. But what struck Claire most was the way he kept scanning the area, like he was trying to reassure himself it was safe. "Morning," he said, voice low. "Morning," Claire replied. "What's going on?" Michael motioned toward the start of the trail. "Let's walk a little. Just in case." Claire followed him down the familiar path. Leaves crunched under their shoes. Birds chirped somewhere overhead, oblivious to the tension between them. After a dozen steps, Michael finally spoke. "Last night, I came home from work a few minutes early. Emma was upstairs taking a shower." Claire listened closely, watching his hands as he talked. They were never still, opening, closing, then sliding into his pockets. "I saw something stuck under the bench near our porch," he continued. "At first I thought it was trash. But when I picked it up, I realized it wasn't." Claire felt her breath hitch. What was it? A small camera. Claire stopped walking. "A camera? Like a security camera?" He shook his head. "No. Smaller. One of those tiny portable ones. The kind that record to an SD card." Her stomach tightened. "Are you sure? I brought it with me." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small zippered pouch. Inside, wrapped carefully in a piece of cloth, was a camera no bigger than a thumb. Claire stared at it. "Michael, this looks expensive. This wasn't something a kid dropped." "No," he said quietly. "It was hidden. Taped to the underside of the bench. Pointed straight at our front door." Claire felt cold spread through her chest. "Do you think someone was trying to record you and Emma?" "I don't know," he said. "But when I checked the SD card on my laptop..." He paused. His voice lowered. "There were recordings." Claire swallowed. "How many?" "Enough to scare me," he said. "Clips of us leaving the house. Coming home. Emma checking the mail. Me bringing in groceries." Claire stared at him, horrified. "Michael, this is serious. You should go to the police." "I will," he said. "But I wanted to talk to you first." "Why me?" He looked at her, and for a moment, the fear in his eyes softened into something else. Something almost vulnerable. Because whoever put this camera there knows our schedule, he said. They know when Emma is home alone. When I'm gone. When she takes her evening walks. When she leaves early for work. He drew a slow breath. And I don't want her to be alone at the wrong moment. Claire felt emotion rise in her throat. You know I'd do anything to protect her. I know, he said softly. That's why I trust you with this. She nodded, heart twisting. Does Emma have any idea? No. And I don't plan to tell her until I know more. She'll panic. She'll start imagining the worst. Claire agreed. Emma had always been sensitive, easily shaken by the idea of someone invading her safety. Michael lifted the small camera again. I don't think the person who placed this is done. That's what scares me. They began walking again. The morning light filtered through the trees, landing in pale patches across the trail. Claire glanced at him. You think they're going to come back? I think they already did, he said. After I removed the camera, I checked our yard again. There were footprints near the back gate. Claire felt a chill. Could they be yours or Emma's? Michael shook his head. These were bigger. And deeper. Someone waited there for a while. The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of pine and damp earth. But to Claire, the air now felt thick with danger. What do you need from me? She asked quietly. Michael took a moment before answering. I want you to be with Emma as much as you can. For the next few days at least. Keep her close. Keep an eye on her. Claire nodded immediately. Of course. I'll stay with her whenever she needs me. But don't tell her why, he added. I need to figure out who did this and why before we involve her. Claire hesitated. I understand. But Michael, if this gets worse. I know, he cut in softly. His eyes met hers again. Steady. Determined. But behind that strength, something fragile flickered. Fear. Hope. Something heavier. I'll do everything I can to keep her safe, he said. Claire felt a strange ache in her chest. Not romantic, just deep. Protective. Human. They walked in silence for several steps, both lost in thought. Claire finally asked, What are you going to do now? Look through the footage again, he said. There might be something I missed. And if you find anything, I'll call you, he said. Right away. They reached the edge of the trail where sunlight spilled onto the cracked pavement. Their cars waited a short distance away. Michael glanced around again before turning back to her. Thank you for meeting me, he said. I know this is a lot. Michael, she said gently, you don't have to go through this alone. For a moment, his expression softened. The fear slipped aside, and the man she had always known, the calm, steady one, returned just long enough to offer a small, grateful smile. I'm glad you're in our lives, Claire, he said quietly. Her breath caught. She wasn't sure why. He stepped back toward his SUV. I'll call you tonight, he said. If I find anything. Claire watched him leave, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and unspoken questions. As his SUV disappeared down the road, a single thought rooted itself deep inside her. Someone had been watching them. Someone bold. Someone patient. And Claire had the gut feeling this was only the beginning. Claire drove home with a tightness in her chest that refused to ease. Even the familiar streets felt different now, like something unseen had settled over the neighborhood. A thin veil of tension. A whisper of danger. She parked in her driveway and sat for a long moment, fingers resting on the steering wheel. Michael's words echoed in her mind. Someone has been watching us. She replayed the morning, every detail sharp and unsettling, the small camera, the recordings, the footprints by the back gate. It didn't feel random. It felt intentional. Targeted. And worst of all, Michael didn't think it was over. Claire finally climbed out of the car and headed inside. She made coffee, though she barely tasted it. Her thoughts drifted to Emma, sweet, trusting Emma, who had no idea someone had been quietly collecting pieces of her life. Claire's stomach twisted. She picked up her phone and typed a message. Hey Em. You free later? Want to hang out today? She tried to keep it casual. Normal. Not the frantic pulse she felt under her skin. A few minutes later, Emma replied. Morning. Yes, I'd love to. Michael's working late tonight. Come over whenever. Claire's heart tightened at the mention of his name. He was already neck-deep in fear. And Emma was smiling through an ordinary morning, unaware that her world had shifted during the night. Claire typed back, I'll come by around noon. She spent the next few hours pretending to be productive, cleaning the kitchen, folding laundry, trying to read, but nothing held her attention. Part of her wanted to tell Emma everything. To warn her. To grab her hands and say, stay close to me. Something isn't right. But Michael was right. Emma would panic. She'd imagine the worst. And she'd never feel safe in her own home again. So Claire swallowed her worry and waited for noon. When the time came, she drove to the Carter's house, parking behind Michael's SUV. The front porch looked normal, wind chimes still hanging, potted flowers still blooming by the steps. Nothing hinted at the camera that had once been hidden underneath the bench. But now Claire knew the truth. And she couldn't look at the house the same way again. Emma opened the door before Claire could knock. Her blonde hair was pulled into a loose bun, and she wore a soft blue sweater that made her look impossibly gentle. Hey, she said warmly. I'm so glad you're here. Claire forced a smile. Me too. Emma pulled her inside and hugged her. The gesture made Claire's stomach ache with guilt. She wished she could protect Emma from everything, especially from this. They settled in the living room, a place filled with memories, movie nights, takeout dinners, quiet conversations when life felt heavy. Emma curled up on the couch, tucking her legs under her. So, she said cheerfully, what's going on? You okay? You sound a little tense. Claire tried to steady her expression. I'm fine. Just tired. Didn't sleep well. Emma nodded with a sympathetic frown. You should have called me. We could have talked. Claire swallowed the truth she wanted to tell. I'll be okay. Emma studied her more closely. Sure. Yeah, Claire said softly. Just one of those nights. They chatted about work, neighbors, the coming weather. Normal things. Safe things. But Claire could feel a quiet storm building inside her. Every time someone walked past the front window, Claire stiffened. Every time the floor creaked upstairs, she glanced toward the staircase. Emma eventually noticed. Her brows pulled together. Claire, what's wrong? Claire took a slow breath. She needed to stay calm. Nothing's wrong. Just a little on edge. It's been a weird week. Emma gave her a gentle, knowing look. Then stay for dinner tonight. Michael will be home late, but I'll cook something simple. We haven't had real girl time in forever. Claire hesitated. Stay. The word tugged at her. Michael had asked her to keep Emma close. Staying felt right. Safe. Necessary. Okay, Claire said. I'll stay. Emma brightened. Good. Then we're having pasta. And you're helping. The afternoon passed slowly. They cooked. Talked. Listened to old music they used to play in college. For a few hours, Claire almost forgot the threat hanging over the house. Almost. But every time Emma stepped near a window, Claire felt her heart knock hard against her ribs. Every time Emma opened the back door to toss out the trash, Claire followed her with unspoken urgency. By early evening, the sky had turned pale gold. Claire glanced at the clock, 6:30 p.m. Michael should be home within the next hour. She checked her phone for updates from him. Nothing. Her worry sharpened. Emma noticed. You keep checking your phone. Are you sure you're okay? Claire forced a steady tone. Just waiting to hear back about something. Emma reached out and squeezed her hand. I'm here if you need to talk. Claire swallowed hard. I know. They returned to cleaning up the kitchen, moving around each other the way people do when they've spent half their lives side by side. At 7:15 p.m., they both heard the front door open. Emma smiled. That must be Michael. Claire turned toward the doorway. Michael stepped inside, but his expression wasn't the calm welcome he usually carried. His jaw was tight. His eyes were wide, unsettled, scanning the room the way he had scanned the trail earlier that morning. Emma noticed immediately. Hey, you okay? Michael looked at her, then at Claire. Something unspoken passed between him and Claire, a look sharp with urgency. Claire's heart stopped cold. Emma frowned, concerned. What's going on? Michael walked closer, his voice low, meant only for Claire. I looked at the footage again. Claire felt her pulse hammer. Emma stared between them, confused. Footage? What footage? Michael ignored the question and held Claire's gaze. There's something you need to see, he said. Claire's breath caught. Emma stepped forward. Michael, you're scaring me. What are you two talking about? Michael closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again, the fear now clear and unmasked. Claire, he said softly, the person who planted that camera wasn't watching us. Claire felt her blood run cold. Emma whispered, Michael, what camera? Michael took a single breath. They were watching you. Claire's heart dropped. Emma's face went pale. But Michael wasn't finished. He pulled something from his pocket. A printed still image. And on it, clear as day, was a figure standing in the shadows near the Carters' back gate. A figure Claire recognized. Someone she never expected. Someone whose presence changed everything. Claire stared at the photo in Michael's hand, and for a moment, the world narrowed to a thin ribbon of sound, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the soft ticking of the wall clock, Emma's unsteady breathing. The figure in the image stood half-hidden near the back gate. Broad shoulders. Heavy jacket. Head angled just enough to reveal a profile Claire knew far too well. Her throat tightened. Is that? Emma whispered, voice cracking. Claire couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Could only nod. It was Tyler Rowan. Her ex-boyfriend. The man she had broken up with nearly a year earlier. Emma's hand flew to her mouth. Claire, oh my God. Michael stepped closer, lowering his voice. That's why I called you last night. That's why I couldn't wait. Claire forced air into her lungs, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and disbelief. Michael, she whispered, are you sure? The angle, the lighting. I'm sure, he said quietly. I enhanced the image on my laptop. It's him. Claire felt the floor tilt. Tyler. Watching the Carters' house. Planting a camera aimed at their front door? It made no sense. He's not dangerous, she said automatically, though her voice trembled. He's intense, and he hates letting go, but he's not. Claire. Michael's tone was gentle but firm. You don't know what he is right now. Emma stepped forward, fear widening her eyes. Why would he be watching our house? Claire pressed her palm against her forehead. I have no idea. Tyler and I haven't spoken in months. And he barely knows you too. Michael lowered the image onto the counter. I thought the person was watching us. Our routines. Our house. But after looking through the footage again, his jaw tightened. The camera wasn't angled perfectly at the front door. It was angled at your car when you come to visit. Claire felt heat rise in her face. That doesn't make sense. Why would he follow me here? I don't know, Michael said quietly. But he's been here. More than once. Emma grabbed Claire's hands. Her grip shook. Why didn't you tell me you were scared of him? I wasn't, Claire said quickly. He never threatened me. He never hurt me. He just didn't know how to let go. Michael exchanged a glance with Emma. A worried one. A protective one. Claire felt panic rising inside her. Michael, she said, voice uneven, what else did you find? He exhaled slowly, rubbing his forehead. I found another clip. Claire swallowed hard. What kind of clip? Tyler walking around the side of our house. Late evening. Maybe 2 nights ago. Emma's knees buckled slightly, and Claire guided her to the couch. Michael continued. He paused by the kitchen window. Stood there for almost a minute. Emma whispered, horrified, he watched us? Michael nodded. And then he moved toward the driveway. I think he was checking for cameras. Ours scared him off, he stayed far from the obvious ones. Claire stared at the wall as a cold tremor rippled through her. She remembered Tyler's last message months ago. A short, polite text wishing her well. No anger. No obsession. Nothing that hinted at this. Michael, Claire said, are you sure it's him? I mean really sure. Michael retrieved the image again, sliding it gently toward her. Look. She took it in shaking hands. The blurred edges didn't matter. The shape of the jawline, the slope of the shoulders, the familiar curve of the hair. It was him. No doubt. Emma leaned into Claire, squeezing her arm. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. None of us do. Claire forced herself to steady her breathing. He's not violent. He's not the kind of person who would hurt anyone. Emma looked at her softly. Claire, we don't always know what people are capable of when they feel desperate. Michael cleared his throat. I have the footage on my laptop. I can show it to the police. But before I do, I want to understand what's going on. I don't want to accuse someone without knowing his intentions. Claire nodded, though fear tightened every muscle in her body. I need to talk to him, she said. Both Michael and Emma immediately shook their heads. No, Michael said, stepping closer. That's the last thing you should do. He might react badly, Emma added, eyes wide. You could make this worse. Claire pushed her hands through her hair. I can't just pretend this isn't happening. If he needs closure, if he's confused or stuck in the past, I might be able to reason with him. Michael's expression hardened with protective concern. Claire, you don't owe him anything. And you don't get to fix someone who's crossing boundaries. But maybe he didn't mean harm, Claire insisted quietly. Maybe he's struggling. Maybe he's just lonely. Michael stepped closer. His voice softened. Even if that's true, watching someone's home isn't a cry for help, it's a warning sign. Claire felt the truth of those words sink deep into her chest. A sudden knock at the front door made all three jump. Emma gasped, grabbing Claire's arm. Michael moved toward the door cautiously. Claire's heart slammed against her ribs as footsteps approached. Michael looked through the peephole. His shoulders loosened slightly, but not much. It's just Mark, he said quietly. The neighbor. Emma exhaled shakily, pressing a hand to her chest. Thank God. Michael opened the door. Mark gave a small wave. Hey, sorry to bother you folks, but... He stopped mid-sentence when he noticed Claire and Emma standing behind Michael, their tense faces impossible to hide. Everything okay in here? He asked, concern flickering across his features. Michael forced a small smile. Yeah. Just a long day. Mark nodded slowly. Well, I came by because something's going on down the street. Police cars. A couple of officers are talking to neighbors. Claire stiffened. Emma swallowed. Why? What happened? Not sure, Mark said. But from the look of it, they're asking about someone who's been seen walking around late at night. A man in a dark jacket. Michael's eyes locked on Claire's. Mark continued, unaware of the storm he had just stepped into. They asked if anyone noticed someone near their yards or driveways. Looks like they're trying to track him down. Claire felt her pulse surge. Did they say who he was? She asked softly. Mark shook his head. No. But one of the officers said he might be connected to a few reports from the last week. People said he was lurking too close to houses. Emma's hand gripped Claire's so tightly it almost hurt. Michael's jaw tightened as he slowly closed the door. A deep, heavy quiet filled the room. This wasn't just their problem anymore. It wasn't just a misplaced camera. Or a confused ex-boyfriend. Or overheated imagination. Someone else had seen him. Someone else had reported him. And the police were looking for him. Claire sank onto the couch, her breath trembling. Emma sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Michael stood in front of them, the worry in his voice now unmistakable. Claire, he said softly, we're not keeping this quiet anymore. Claire lifted her eyes, heart pounding. What do we do now? She whispered. Michael took a slow breath. We tell the police everything. He paused. Then added gently. And Claire, you might not be safe going home tonight. Claire felt the floor shift beneath her as the truth settled over all of them like a cold, heavy shadow. The words hung in the quiet living room like a heavy fog. Claire might not be safe going home tonight. She looked up at Michael, her breath unsteady. Emma pressed closer to her, protective in a way Claire had always been for her. Now everything felt upside down. Michael, Claire whispered. You really think he'd come to my place? Michael didn't answer right away. He walked to the window and pulled the curtain back a few inches, scanning the street before letting it fall again. I don't know what he's capable of, he said softly. But I know he's watching you. And I know he was here more than once. Claire wrapped her arms around herself. A year ago, Tyler had been just another chapter in her life, messy, emotional, but not dangerous. Now he was a shadow slipping through her days, her nights, maybe her street. What are you thinking? Emma asked her husband, voice trembling. I'm thinking, he said quietly, that we call the police. And we let them handle this. Claire nodded. Okay. Yes. Please. Emma stood up and pulled her phone from her pocket. I'll call right now. But Michael gently placed his hand over hers. Let me do it. His voice was steady, protective. He dialed and stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind him. Claire and Emma sat together in an uneasy silence. Emma finally spoke. I should have known something was wrong. You've been so tense lately. Claire shook her head. This isn't your fault. I didn't even know anything was wrong. I thought Tyler was just gone. Emma squeezed Claire's hands. I'm so sorry he's doing this. But you don't have to face it alone. You have us. Claire felt tears push against her eyes. She blinked them back. When Michael returned, his shoulders looked a little less tense. They're sending an officer. He'll be here soon. They want to talk to all of us. Emma exhaled in relief. Claire nodded, though her heart thudded hard in her chest. They didn't speak much as they waited. Every car that passed made them all flinch. Every sound outside seemed sharper, closer. 20 minutes later, a knock sounded at the door. Michael checked again through the peephole before letting the officer in. He wore a calm expression, but there was a seriousness in his posture that told Claire he already knew part of the situation. Officer Daniels, he introduced himself. I was told you have information about a suspicious individual. Michael nodded and motioned toward the table. We do. And we have footage. Claire watched as Michael pulled out the laptop and the printed images. He explained everything, the camera, the recordings, the still shot of Tyler, the footprints near the gate. Officer Daniels listened without interrupting, his brows pulling together the more he heard. When Michael finished, the officer leaned back in his chair. This matches reports from several neighbors, Daniels said quietly. Same description. Same behavior. Emma's breath hitched. Has he hurt anyone? No, the officer said. But approaching homes at night, planting cameras, those are escalating actions. We take that seriously. He turned to Claire. You said this man is your ex-boyfriend? Claire nodded. We dated for about a year. We broke up cleanly. No fights. I haven't seen him in months. And no recent contact, the officer asked. None. Not a text, not a call. Has he ever shown up uninvited before? No, Claire said firmly. He was intense sometimes. Overly attached. But never like this. Officer Daniels studied her expression. Sometimes this kind of behavior starts quietly. People change after loss or stress. Do you know if anything significant happened in his life recently? Claire shook her head. I don't. We didn't keep in touch. The officer made a few notes, then turned to all three of them. Here's what happens next. We'll open a case. We'll send patrol cars through the neighborhood tonight and the next few nights. If he comes near this house or your home, he turned to Claire, you call us immediately. Emma nodded quickly. Claire whispered, I will. And, Daniels continued gently, I would strongly recommend you stay here with your friends tonight. At least until we know more. Claire looked at Michael and Emma, both already nodding. Of course she stays, Emma said. No question. The officer gathered the prints and footage files Michael offered to send. I'll run this through our system and notify you if we learn anything. Stay inside tonight. Lock your doors. Keep your lights on. They thanked him, and he left through the porch door. As soon as he was gone, the house fell into a heavy quiet. Emma turned to Claire immediately. You're staying in the guest room. No arguing. Claire nodded. Thank you. I don't think I want to be alone. Michael put a comforting hand on her shoulder. You're safe here. We'll keep watch tonight. Claire felt a wave of gratitude sweep through her. Warm and overwhelming. They spent the next hour calming their nerves, making tea, talking through possibilities, double-checking the locks. Night settled slowly outside, wrapping the house in a soft, uneasy darkness. Claire stayed close to the living room window, watching the streetlights glow. She imagined Tyler somewhere out there, maybe walking, maybe watching. The thought chilled her to the bone. Emma placed a blanket around Claire's shoulders. "You'll get through this," she whispered. "He doesn't get to take your peace." Claire leaned into her friend, grateful beyond words. Michael returned from checking the backyard. "All clear for now," he said softly. The three of them sat together, the room dim but warm with shared strength. "You know," Michael said gently, "the officer's right. People do change. Sometimes their darkness shows up long after you've left." Claire nodded slowly. I can't understand what he wants. Why he's doing this." Emma brushed a hand through Claire's hair, comforting like an older sister. "Whatever the reason, it's not your fault." Claire looked up at both of them. "You two didn't have to get involved like this. But you did. And I'm grateful." "Your family," Emma said simply. "Family looks out for each other." Claire felt her eyes sting. She looked at Michael too. His expression was soft, steady, full of quiet reassurance. "You're not alone, Claire," he said. "Not in this. Not ever." Something warm spread in her chest, safety, trust, the quiet comfort of knowing she had people who cared deeply about her. The fear didn't vanish. But it softened, wrapped tightly in something stronger. Later, when they all prepared for bed, Claire stood for a long time in the doorway of the guest room, listening to the house settle around her. She whispered into the dim light, "I'm safe here." And for the first time since the midnight phone call, she believed it. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know whether Tyler would be found or what answers would follow. But she knew one truth with absolute clarity. Whatever came next, she wouldn't face it alone.